Hi, I'm Kaan Zorlu, aka Obayda, and welcome to the next chapter of our XGEN hairstyle tutorial. In this lesson, we're diving deep into advanced techniques by finalizing the hair guide's flow and shapes, also setting up the modifiers we need to transform our hairstyle into a professional looking groom. So here, as you can see, I'm just working on finalizing the shape of the guides using XGEN Sculpt tool. As you can see that I use it mainly through the whole lesson, which is what I use always whenever I groom any hairstyle. I want to adjust the tips of the guides here first. I don't want them to look so spiky as the tips, since whenever we use the clump modifier here, we got a spiky shape. So I want the guides, especially the front guides. As you can see from the reference, I want the guides to flow inside the hairstyle. That's why I'm adjusting the tips so they don't look spiky from the silhouette or from looking at the hairstyle. So you're just selecting the guides, the inner guides and the outer guides, and just adjusting the flow. As you can see, I want to have a really nice shape. So I'm paying attention to each small guide here, and of course previewing the description always, just to see how the hair is acting along with the guides. I want to make sure as well that not of any of the guides I have to be overlapping over each other. I don't want them to intersect with each other. It's really important to make your hair looks natural. That's why we used the color preview map on our clump modifier in the previous lessons. Once you have each clump having its own color, it will be really easy to identify the overlapping shapes and adjusting them. As you can see, using the scale tool again, just like a simple basic scale tool to make the guide just bigger, and then adjusting its shape, making sure it doesn't look straight, because whenever the guide gets longer, it will be really harder to give it a wavy shape. So I really want to pay attention to that detail, adjusting its vertices just to make it more flowy, let's say. So after that, I want to work on the corner of the back of the head. As you remember from my hair proxy, I used to have this corner, which is really important for my silhouette, for the character design I had. So I will adjust the corner, I'll adjust the shape to make it a slightly straight silhouette from the whole guides. As you can see, I will jump back and forth to adjust all the guides on the front side, on the back side, on the middle, just to get the general flow. As you can see on the left corner, the reference I have there has it has a really nice clumps flowing back to the head, as you can see. So this is what I'm trying to make now, looking at the reference on the left side. Especially the guides on the edge of my hairstyle, I want them to have this flow from the front of the head, flowing back to the back side. One thing here I want to keep in mind, that the reference I have has a really long hair, which I don't want it. I don't want my character to have this long. That's why I didn't pay full attention to the length of the hair in the reference. So here I'm just checking the guides from all the angles and seeing that the guides on the edge needs to have a better flow. That's why I'm making them longer and just sticking them inside the hairstyle. As you can see, as I said, I don't want the tips of the hair to look so spiky. So I want them to flow inside the hairstyle. I want them to have a smooth transition from the outside of the hairstyle to the inside part. As you can see here, when selecting few guides and just clicking on Ctrl 1 on the keyboard will isolate the selected guides, which will make it really helpful to adjust your guides depending on that. As you can see, just selecting the guide and holding Ctrl 1 on the keyboard will just isolate it, just make a quick adjustment to the overall shape of the guide, and then clicking Ctrl 1 again will let us exit the isolate mode. As you can see, the general look of the guides looks nice. I like the flow. I like how the tips on the front of the head doesn't look so spiky, and now I'm working on the back of the head to adjust it, since I don't want them to be spiky here as well. Keeping in mind the overlapping, as you can see. Adjusting the smaller guides, just make them longer and stick them inside the hairstyle just to give me this flow, the smooth transition. Also checking it from all the angles and making sure that I'm not missing any guides. Here what I want to do, after adding, like, since we added the clump modifier, you can already see that our clump modifier will clamp them based on the guides. That's what we wanted. It's really cool feature in XGen, but since now I have big gaps between the guides, the clumps will be really big, which I don't like. As you can see the reference here, the clumps look not so wide, you know. The clump radius itself will be like smaller. So one way here to adjust that is by filling the gaps between the guides. That's why after we generate the clump map again, depending on the guides, we will have smaller clumps, which is what we really want. Because if you take a look at the reference, you don't see a big clumps. So one way is to add more guides, just to give you more control over the overall of the hairstyle, and to make the clumps, that the base clump we use, just smaller, which is what we need for this hairstyle. As you can see, working on the back of the hair, here also I'm taking in the tips, so I don't want them to look so spiky as well. As you can see, even the smallest part of the hairstyle I'm taking care of. I don't want to leave anything behind. This will make my hairstyle looks much smoother. Here maybe I'm having some overlaps where I'm selecting the guides, the inner guides, and just scaling up and scaling down some of them, just to make this variation and get rid of the overlapping effect. And keeping in mind the general shape of my hair, I don't want to lose the silhouette I already had, which was really looking good. It was what I'm looking for. As you can see here, still adjusting the tips of the spiky looks. It's really annoying to have like a spiky clumps just sticking out of the hairs, you know. So just adjusting these, as you can see, just scaling them up with the scale tool and just using the XGEN sculpt tool to just stick them in. It's really easy. Now I will add my guides just to preview the style. As you can see, I'm not really happy with the result on the front side, so I will try to adjust the guides. Just a small slight adjustments, maybe just to adjust the silhouette of the hairstyle actually. As you can see, hiding the guides here will give me a better visualize. Okay, I'm missing this guide here. So I make them longer and just stick them in. And now I will preview the description. As you can see, the hair updates directly. Now here, as I mentioned before, just to make a smaller clumps, I will add new guides inside. As you can see, the guides take the shape of other guides. since we had a really good first guides, like we really paid attention to the details for creating the first guides. So now whenever we start filling with the smaller guides, we will not face any problems because they already take the shape, the overall shape of our hair. So after adding a few guides there, I'll adjust that clump map, just update it. And then you can see just visualizing my hairstyle and overall shape and see what's missing, checking the silhouette, checking it from the closer angle and the wider angle, and see what I'm missing here to start working on. As you can see, I found this messy guide there where I just isolated it, fixed the shape, and just kept it in place. And updating my clump map again will be really important. Now I will start adding modifiers here just to start getting a more professional look. Let's say, okay, like we finished styling our hair and now we really want something to look very good. So I'll add a new clump modifier, but this time I'll not use the guides as the map generator. I'll just generate a density map here to get a small clump shapes. But XGEN have this great feature to assign it inside the first clump. As you can see, I'm having smaller shapes but without breaking the main clump shape I had, which is really important to get a natural look of the hair. So here, as you can see, I'm just adjusting the clump scale here. It's really nice to adjust it by curve. This will adjust like the root of the clump and the tip of the clump and everything in between. So I like to give it a little variation. I don't want it to look so generic, so I will make little variations with the overall shape. As you can see here, just adjusting some modifiers here and there. And the thing what I want to do is to activate the copy effect on the first clump modifier, not the second. What this will do, this will let the hair to stick to the guide shape. It will not just let it get smooth. It will stick it to the guide shape not from the root. As you can see, I just adjusted to the tip. So it's really important to activate this at this point for this hairstyle. After that, I will select all the guides, rebuild them, and I will increase the CV count to get a smoother look on my hair. And now, as you can see, after I'm happy with the results, I will start filling in some gaps to get a smaller clumps. As you can see here, I will just preview to see where I have a big clumps and then just add guides inside there just to fill in and get a smaller clumps. Here I'm just checking wherever I have empty spaces. I'm just filling it with guides with no extra works. As you can see, since we really paid attention to the first guides in our previous lesson, so here we will not face any problem adding new guides. Just sticking in some new guides as well, since I don't want to see this really spiky look on the back of the head as well. So as you can see, just adjusting them. And of course, after adding new guides, we need to update our two clumps. So I will start by updating the first clump, and then after I'm happy, I will update the second clump map. Here I'll just check in between the hairs, see if I have any overlapping, any interrupting guides. As you can see here, I'll just do a minor adjustments. And of course, keep adding the guides, especially on the front of the head, because it's a big area, so I want the clumps to be smaller here. It will make it much better looking. After adding each guide, of course, even if you add only one guide, you need to update your clumps again. As you can see, just isolating the guide here on the left side, and just adjusting its shape. Again, using the same tools without using anything different. Here I found some overlapping guides where I'm trying to adjust them. As you can see, it doesn't look so natural. You know, you don't want hairs to be like crossing each other. So Just doing these minor adjustments will be really helpful to make your hair look so natural in the end. So now what I want to do is just add more details. So the first thing I would like to do is to add a randomized expression for my clump modifier. I don't want it to clump all the hair from the start until the end with the same values, so I wanted to randomize that. I want some clumps to be wider, some clumps to be narrower. I want some of them to be big, some of them to be small. So, okay, here I got a mistake, and luckily the XGen didn't crash. Here's a trick to check the number of your hair. Just activate the static levels statistic levels 1, as you can see, and after previewing the description, it will tell you exactly how many XGen hair you have in your description. Now I will adjust the taper and the taper start modifiers just to give it more realistic look. Just adjusting the guides as well, as you can see, like, it's a long journey where you really need to keep on adjusting the guides without stopping. Every time I see a broken guide, I will just go directly and just adjust the shape of it. As you can see, I've spotted a empty area here where I want to fill it in. And one thing here is the clump modifier doesn't work good if you have, in the same description, if you have a long hair and short hair at the same time. As you can see, because it's applying the same values to the very long guides and the very short guides. Here they're interacting each other, they're overlapping. So of course, in these areas, as you can see, filling up the empty spaces. Updating my clump maps again. Now, as I mentioned before, the clumps doesn't look good on the shorter hair, so I'll turn off the clumping too. I'll go to my first modifier, and I have a trick here is to just multiply that by C length. As you can see, the hair looks so messy. That's because the clump modifier just multiplies that with the length of each guide, which each guide has a length more than 1, of course. So I'll just adjust the values I already added to the randomized expression here, just decreasing that. These numbers will make it look much smoother. As you can see, I don't have a lot of clump effects on the back short hair, but for the front guides, for the front hair, I still have a good clumping effect, as you can see here. So it's a really nice trick to use if you don't want to paint maps. As you can see, just adjusting the scale of the clump with my curve here, just to make it more natural. You're just adding more points, adjusting them, and of course I will regenerate the clump too. After I made all the adjustments, the first clump modifier, and now I will add a noise modifier, which will help me to get a more natural look, and it will break the clumps, the robotic visual of the clumps. As you can see, I like to decrease the value on the tip of the noise modifier because I don't want them to be so messy. I like to get this clumped effect on the tips. And here, as you can see, the C length that didn't work on the mask, but it's not a problem. So I'll just adjust the frequency. As you can see, the effect here is really obvious, the noise effect. It really gives a natural look for the clump modifier. Now I'll adjust the magnitude. just decreasing the frequency as well. I don't want it to be so noisy, but I want it to be messy. That's really important to understand. Now I will just turn off the color preview to check the hair, how it's looking like with all these modifiers, and so far I really like it. I'll just add the one cut modifier just to make the tips ending like more naturally, as you can see here. Okay, thank you guys for following this lesson, and make sure to subscribe to my channel to check in new lessons and tutorials, and see you in the next lesson.